Alright, all you Streetlight Crusaders, and I guess a couple of you wrestling fans who are still up for tonight, welcome back to the Tuesday Night Special. And as a little bit of a warning for a couple of you fans out there, with daylight savings time finally coming to an end and the sun around here on the East Coast finally coming to a set around 5:30, 6 o'clock, around that range, we may try to do a couple of shows around the prime time area for the Tuesday Night Special. You know, as a little bit of practice heading toward New Year's Eve. Because if you don't know, and we might as well reveal it now, we are going to try to have a New Year's show to wrap up all the shows we're going to do for this decade. So we might as well get as much practice in as possible. And hey, you know what they say? Practice makes perfect. But besides that little announcement we decided to get out of the way, folks, I think it's time for us to go and find out what happened during this week's edition of Monday Night Raw from Long Island, New York, home of the woo-woo-woo kid himself, Zack Ryder. And did anybody find out if he had a match tonight? Or on Monday Night Raw? Did anybody? No? Alright. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Monday Night Raw would kick off with not only a motorcade of black Escalades being led by the game Triple H, but would also see the reigning, defending, undisputed WWE Champion himself, Brock Lesnar, in tow with Paul Heyman, a man on a mission looking for one Rey Mysterio. And would say that Rey Mysterio, after what he did at Crown Jewel, after Brock Lesnar finally got his revenge against Cain Velasquez, just signed his death warrant, and anybody who gives him up, or going to give him up, is going to be responsible for a grand felony after what happens to Rey Mysterio. And after Brock Lesnar didn't get what he wanted, he went backstage, assaulted a bunch of people backstage, including some guy with some blue hair who I thought was the ring announcer, but it turned out it wasn't, and then would even break a car door, turning the backstage area of Monday Night Raw into a Category 5 storm. And to save everybody the trouble, after the match that would take place to start on Monday Night Raw, he would come back out, threaten Jerry the King Lawler, but none other than Dio Madden himself, the referee, or should I say the wrestler who was a part of NXT and a person who was trained alongside with Ember Moon in Booker T's wrestling school, would end up stepping up to the plate and trying to take on Brock Lesnar, only to get F5 through the announce table, and Rey Mysterio would come out, and instead of being Rey Mysterio for the night, would be Batman, in the form of an aluminum bat right to the knees and the inside of the legs and the calf muscles of one Brock Lesnar, finishing it off with a title shot to the face. And then later on that night would ask for a title shot. And would get his wish, so at Survivor Series for this year, folks, Rey Mysterio would go one-on-one against Brock Lesnar for the first time in his career for the WWE Championship. Now, I'm not sure, I could be wrong with the statement I just said, but this would be the first time that Brock Lesnar would go one-on-one against Rey Mysterio, and I find that funny. I thought they would have clashed at some point in their career, but they never did. Weird. And speaking of people who never clashed in their careers together in tag team form, at least, the first match to take place on Monday Night Raw would be the Kabuki Warriors going one-on-one against Charlotte Flair and Natalya, who it seems to be a new tag team who's going after the gold for the Kabuki Warriors, because during this match, action will go back and forth, including Natalya pulling off a very beautiful spinning power slam during this match for near fall, and then the Kabuki Warriors doing a tag team move of, I do believe, a full Nelson grounded version into a drop kick to the face during this match. And would even see Asuka going toe-to-toe against the Queen of Hearts in submission holds, only for her to actually get reversed into a sharpshooter, for Kairi Sane to try to come into the match and break up the hold, only for Charlotte to come into the match with a hellacious spear, breaking that noise up, only for I guess, Asuka to try to reverse it into an armbar, for it to get re-reversed back into a sharpshooter, for the Queen of Hearts to prove why she is the second to third generation of the excellence of execution, and win this match for her team via submission. And a very impressive back and forth submission hold contest near the end. Very impressive. And the next match to take place on Monday Night Raw would be none other than Buddy Murphy going one-on-one against Cedric Alexander. And during this match, Cedric Alexander was taking no chances and decided to try to take to the skies to take out one Buddy Murphy during this match, but Murphy was prepared by not only doing chops to the chest to Cedric Alexander and even hitting his fingers on the turnbuckle post, which I got a feeling hurts because I did hit my fingers against the metal post once, and yeah, it still hurts. So besides that little moment that happened in life, during this match, after Cedric Alexander's arm would try to get neutralized, he would fire back with his handspring enziguri to the side of the head for a near fall, and would even do his Michinoku driver for a near fall. But unfortunately, Murphy's Law would be in effect after he would try to go for another handspring enziguri and would find himself caught up in a 3-count position for Murphy to win this match via pinfall. And slowly but surely becoming more and more impressive as the weeks go on. And if there's not proof of that after the whole Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns matches he had on SmackDown, it's definitely starting to show on Monday Night Raw. And the next thing to take place on Monday Night Raw, besides Buddy Murphy becoming the best kept secret like he promised on SmackDown, would see Seth Rollins coming out and airing his grievances about the fact that not only The Fiend is now the Universal Studios of Orlando, Florida's champion after his Jason Voorhees surviving an explosion, getting the Sister Abigail, and pinning Seth Rollins at Crown Jewel, but would also say that now that Brock Lesnar's back on Monday Night Raw at the top of the mountain, he's back at square one. And he knows that he's been known for redesign, rebuild, and reclaim, but he feels like he doesn't have the energy to do this once again. And the second when he tried to figure out what was next, the man who invented the word next in his occasion, Triple H, would make his way down to the ring and would be interested in what's next for Seth Rollins as well, and would say that neither you're with me or against me, and would reveal that the Undisputed Era would be at ringside for his decision. But before Seth Metal could give an answer, none other than the OC would hit ringside and throw hands down with the Undisputed Era, only for none other than Damian Priest and Otis, and I don't know how to say his name right, but the guy who kept fighting against Keith Lee on NXT would end up getting in a fight with the OC, taking them out, only for Zack Ryder, Kurt Hawkins, R-Truth, and I do believe Rowan to also come out to thwart the invasion of NXT. And to catch people up to speed who didn't watch SmackDown, and since we really didn't report on it, after NXT would invade a, I guess, shortened roster of SmackDown, they would go on Monday Night Raw to send a message heading toward the Survivor Series with several major matches that will happen at the Survivor Series this year that definitely got me excited. Not only the fact that the NXT Tag Team Champions of the Undisputed Era will be going up against the Viking Raiders and the Revival in a triple threat tag team match, but you also have the Queen of Spades, Shayna Baszler, the Man Becky Lynch, and Bayley going at it in a triple threat match as well at the Survivor Series. And this reminds me, and I could get the year wrong for this, folks, but this reminds me of, I do believe, the 2008 Survivor Series when they would have triple threat matches to show the dominance of the champion. But in this case, this would be the first time ever that 3 different brands will be going at it at the Survivor Series that's not in a video game. because for those who don't know, I do believe it was SmackDown vs. Raw 2009. I could be wrong with that year too. They did have ECW featured in that game, going to war against Raw and SmackDown for the whole storyline to be that ECW was the dominant brand heading into WrestleMania. So yeah, this is gonna be good if it goes the way I hope it does at Survivor Series for this year. And speaking of Shayna Baszler, she would interrupt an interview that was being held by Becky Lynch that night, not only to make her presence known to the man Becky Lynch, but would also say that you have mere weeks to decide which one of your limbs is going to be mine. And would also tell her that she's not Ronda Rousey, only for Becky Lynch to say that she's gonna keep an eye on Bayley during the match, just like Shayna Baszler is, but at the same time looks forward to changing her life, because anybody who goes to war with Becky Lynch, their lives change forever. And she's been on the money thus far about that with all the different opponents she's fought over the past year. And I find it funny, it's almost 1 year since she broke her nose thanks to Nia Jax. Man, what a year can do for a superstar. And with that said, folks, we might as well go ahead and grab a glass of water, and when we return, we'll be back with the second half of what happened on Monday Night Raw from Long Island, New York, right after this. So don't go anywhere just yet, folks, and stay tuned.